Hello, everybody. My name is Armand Avanis-Rajani, and I'm here to talk to you about Swapasize. Swapasize is a platform that allows people to exchange clothing to benefit their wallet, the environment, and their community. Swapasize targets three problems that we face every day. To begin, families spend an excessive amount of money on clothing that is quickly outgrown or disposed of. Young children often have their entire wardrobes replaced every 6 months, which can be a massive financial burden. On average, a new piece of clothing is only ever worn 7 times. To only add to this, the poorly made and disposable clothing ends up in landfills, only miles away from our homes. The mass production of this fast fashion is incredibly detrimental, not only to our environment, but to our communities as well. Sweatshops, the backbone of the fast fashion industry, contribute to the exploitation of laborers and the environment. Finally, our modern lifestyle, combined with the current pandemic, has highlighted the value of the rapidly decreasing human interactions that people have in their communities. Swapasize alleviates these issues by reducing the need to purchase new clothing. This eliminates a significant amount of clothing costs, while still allowing consumers to enjoy new styles and sizes. The ability to trade unwanted clothes gives value to something previously disregarded. Swapasize also prevents disposable fast fashion from filling up landfills by allowing people to trade unwanted clothing instead of quickly throwing them away. This reduces the harmful effects of landfills and helps mitigate the amount of carbon dioxide released from clothing production. By purchasing less and swapping more, imagine the increase in lifespan of the clothing. We can increase the number of times worn from 7 to 17. The service also encourages community interactions by recommending nearby clothing to trade with the community distance search feature. Limited to 10 miles, the community search feature allows people to see what is available in their surrounding city. And with more people trading, there's less of an incentive to buy clothing produced from sweatshops, reducing their profitability. Trading is easy. Just upload a piece of clothing you want to swap and list its size and clothing type. Then browse other listings to find what you want. Once you find an item you like, request to make a trade for it. If the trade is accepted, then all that is left to do is meet up and seal the deal. If you're interested in trading an entire closet at once or giving back to those in need, Swapasize can accommodate you. A bulk trade is an exchange with multiple pieces, an easy way to trade numerous items. Parents can utilize this feature to acquire an entire wardrobe. Garment Guardian allows financially unstable families to request a donation of bulk clothes to dress their growing children. This method adds an element of human connection that isn't found when donating to faceless organizations. Swapasize will cost $5 per month for unlimited access. That's it. This number was obtained after I asked a group of families and young adults what they felt comfortable paying for this service. The company's purpose is to provide new styles and clothing to the target demographic, growing families and young adults, at a low cost. A subscription-based revenue stream was chosen because it is an incredibly strong source of income, and it has become an incredibly popular form of payment with online services. Nowadays, consumers are accustomed to accessing services through subscriptions. Our clients will be more comfortable paying for Swapasize in the same way that they do movies and music, instead of the traditional transaction fees. In addition, Swapasize will offer a yearly payment option, so consumers can choose to pay for a year's access at once and avoid being charged monthly. Swapasize will be promoted through social media advertisements on Instagram and Facebook while targeting the product's demographics. As the platform is online, different social media platforms act as a direct connection to the target audience. Another area of exposure is social media influencers. Young adults and new parents are the primary consumers of influencer content. By utilizing hashtags similar to #ZeroWaste and #LessWaste, we can cultivate organic growth for the platform. Partnering with already established organizations who promote environmentally sustainable lifestyles, such as the Sustainable Apparel Coalition and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, will also help get the word out. This digital strategy will expose our platform to the organization's already established loyal following, who share our message for environmental awareness. Finally, it is in my opinion that Los Angeles is the best starting location for the platform. It has an incredibly large amount of the target audience, and its vibrant communities are heavily plagued by fast fashion sweatshops. To further expand on Los Angeles' viability, I researched the market values for fast fashion in LA relative to the US and the rest of the world. The fashion industry as a whole is booming. The global fashion market value is currently $1.9 trillion, with projections to double by 2030. The US has a considerable chunk of that total, as it contributes $368 billion to the industry each year. Lastly, Los Angeles County brings in a total of $4.8 billion each year, further expanding its effectiveness as a starting location and illustrating the incredibly large and increasing fashion market. Other secondhand clothing services exist. However, these services lack in certain areas that Swapasize excels at. Goodwill has very little community interaction and has a large markup on their product. OfferUp's clothing interface is non-existent, which makes it incredibly hard to find specific sizes. And while eBay does have a large clothing scene, it is focused on luxury fashion and charges a fee for transactions. Not to mention, products on eBay are typically shipped, which only adds to our increase in carbon dioxide pollution. After 3 years, the goal is to have over 60,000 active subscribers. This will be obtained through the marketing strategies discussed earlier, combined with word-of-mouth recommendations. Once the service has enough users, we will then add an advertising revenue stream to the platform. This will be executed later on as advertising becomes viable once the platform has a larger user base. So once a stable user base is created through our marketing strategies, this approach, combined with the subscription model, would be able to cultivate a larger amount of the targeted demographic. Finally, the last objective would be to expand to other regions across the US. This is to be accomplished through the targeted advertisements in the regions we wish to expand to, for example, San Francisco or New York. This is a 5-year financial projection for Swapasize. This is assuming a base user count of 7,000 with a consistent 3 times increase in users per year. Our expenses include development costs, server fees, marketing, and customer support. With so many businesses and stores closed down, many people don't have access to personal shopping. This shopping hiatus is what inspired me to create Swapasize. The platform allows the user to save a large amount of money while strengthening their community bonds, both incredibly important, especially during a time of a pandemic. As to any concerns regarding COVID-19 spreading during in-person swaps, I have consulted a microbiology PhD who informed me that as long as the traders wear masks, hands are washed, and that the clothes are washed before wear, no problems would arise. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Would you have any questions?
Well, since you beautifully led into it, then I'm going to allow the judges to go into their questions.
Thank you for that very impassioned presentation and all the good work you've done to get here. Have you done any work, Armand, on testing how you get quality merchandise onto the site? How will you populate the site enough to have it be viable and credible and desirable for people to join? I mean, you're creating a marketplace and it's always difficult to get that flywheel spinning. So what's your strategy there?
So you say quality products, but the purpose of Swapasize is to fulfill the purpose of, say, your local thrift store. The clothing being exchanged on this application are daily use wear, which is separate from, say, a luxury or a new good. So, and the people themselves would then decide what the quality would be. And excuse me, I just saw you lean forward to add to the question.
No, I was just wondering, I mean, I think quality, even if it's a used good, is going to be an important consideration. And how will you develop, you know, sort of trust and credibility around the swapping mechanism?
And so that is where our consumer support feature comes from. So we're going to have the ability to say deactivate accounts if problems do arise. And that's why a large portion of our financials, as I'll pull up here, a large portion of our financials is going towards increasing our customer support. And as you can see over the years, we add more and more as our user base grows. And this, along with a grading system to essentially grade a user on their ability to show up on time, the cleanliness of their clothes, and essentially their interaction as a whole. Essentially kind of, how Uber works at a certain point of a up or down scale. And if say someone drops before a certain level, then their account would have to be deactivated.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question.
Armand, I think this is a really great concept. In a prior life, I used to be a buyer at Macy's. So that was one thing that always bothered me, was how quickly the fashion came in and out of style. And I was just wondering if you could kind of walk me through the process. So, there's a company called ThreadUp, which is kind of the same idea, except, you have to pay for the item. And, they are the middleman of, in term going back to Will's question about quality. So it sounds like you're not being involved with the transaction at all. You're just the platform. Could you just clarify that?
Could you clarify your question? Are you asking what do I see as my position, or are you asking my relationship with, say, ThreadUp?
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm asking the experience as a user. So if I go onto your site and I want to swap clothes with somebody, your company is not actually acquiring any of the clothing itself. I'm facilitating the transaction between the other person just through your site.
Yes, that would be the facilitation. And so again, the purpose is to bring the sort of swap meets thrift store idea online. And I'm aware of ThreadUp, and I actually conducted a pretty substantial survey, dozens of people, and I brought the idea of ThreadUp and the idea of Swapicize together, and I said, which one do you prefer? Majority preferred an idea like Swapicize because they just didn't really like transaction fees. And they liked the idea of being able to accept trades themselves. So it was not like, they just liked the idea of the bartering system and being the more personal connection with the shopping experience. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a question, when I listened to your 1-minute pitch, it sounded like you were focusing on families and your families who had kids who rapidly grew out of their clothes. This final pitch that you just presented right now didn't seem to zero in on that. It seemed like you were doing a much broader focus. Am I right? And why did you do that?
So you're correct. My pitch did focus on that. And I believe that my presentation does bring that into account because my target audience, as I stated, is young adults and parents. And now more days than ever, you have a lot more young adults living with the parents in the first place. And a lot of the people I surveyed were in this situation. So my focus specifically is on those two markets, on the children who grow out of their clothes too fast and the young adults who want to exchange clothing, who would typically go to a thrift store or something like that.
Okay, just some feedback on that is those are two very different markets. If I'm a parent, trying to buy clothes for my kids or keep them dressed versus a young adult interested in fashion. And so I think those are two very different markets. And ideally, you should focus on one and do a really good job and then move to a next one.
Thank you for the feedback.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, and one more, maybe just to add on a bit. So
yeah, last question.
oh, sorry if it's time.
No, that's good.
So you mentioned about necessity. This is what seemed to me is a necessity clothing, but then it's very different from fashion. So you use the information data there, also in the fashion industry. So it's a quite complete different segment and needs, and how you are going to understand the customers there. How you position yourself, can be quite different. Yeah. So.
All right.